For people who have food allergies, has anyone ever tried to challenge you? My name is Lily Moreno, and this happened when I was in 7th grade, during lunch, the one part of the school day that was supposed to be safe. That afternoon was Emily O'Brien's birthday, and her mom brought in cupcakes covered in bright pink frosting with cheap plastic rings stuck on top. Everyone crowded around the long cafeteria table like it was a celebration. I stayed in my seat, hands folded, already uneasy. I had a peanut allergy, not the mild kind that made your skin itch. Mine made my throat tighten and my lips swell, the kind that could turn serious fast. Every single day, my mom packed my lunch with a note taped inside. Allergy. Do not share food. I knew better than to gamble with it. Emily noticed me sitting apart and walked over, smiling, holding out a cupcake. Want one? She asked. I shook my head and said I couldn't. When she asked why, I told her the truth. Allergies. I don't know what's in them. That should have been the end of it. But Miss Harris saw us from across the cafeteria. She was the lunch monitor, always wearing strong perfume and shoes that clicked loudly when she walked. She believed kids lied about everything, and she made sure everyone knew it. She stopped right next to me and asked why I wasn't joining the celebration. I told her calmly that I had an allergy. She raised an eyebrow and asked if I was allergic to cupcakes now, like it was funny. I explained it was peanut. She laughed, loud enough for nearby tables to turn and stare. She said every kid suddenly had an allergy when it was something they didn't like. My hands were slick with sweat, but I reminded myself what mattered. Say no. Don't eat it. I told her again that I really couldn't. She crossed her arms and said they didn't encourage attention-seeking behavior here. My face burned as people whispered and giggled around me. I told her I wasn't seeking attention and that I brought my own lunch. She leaned closer and said if I were actually allergic, there would be paperwork on file. I said there was, that the nurse knew. Miss Harris clapped her hands and announced to the room that Lily thought she was special. I stared down at my tray. At the turkey sandwich and apple slices I knew were safe. She picked up one of the cupcakes and flipped it over, saying she didn't see any peanuts and that I was fine. My voice shook as I told her she couldn't know that for sure. She sighed dramatically and said kids watch too much internet nonsense. Allergies were serious, she said, and you shouldn't joke about them. I told her I wasn't joking. She smiled tightly and said she was going to help me. Then she took my tray. My stomach dropped. I stood up and asked her not to touch my food, but she ignored me and walked toward the cupcakes. I couldn't see exactly what she did, only that her hands moved quickly. When she returned, she slid my tray back in front of me and told me to eat. The room felt unnaturally quiet. My sandwich looked the same, and that terrified me more than anything. I said I didn't want it. She told me if I refused, I'd sit there until lunch ended. My heart raced as I weighed the options, remembering my mom telling me to always choose my body over rules. I pushed the tray away and said I wasn't eating it. Across from me sat Ryan Miller, a quiet kid who always shared his snack. He leaned over and whispered that he was hungry and asked if he could have my sandwich since I wasn't eating it. My head felt foggy, desperate for the moment to be over, and I said yes. Miss Harris nodded like she'd won. Ryan picked up the sandwich and took a big bite. At first, nothing happened. The room went back to normal. Chairs scraped, voices rose, and Miss Harris walked away. Then Ryan slowed down. He swallowed hard and frowned, one hand drifting to his throat. I asked if he was okay. He nodded, but his face started turning red. Not embarrassed red, but wrong red. He said he felt weird. Then he gasped that he couldn't breathe and collapsed sideways off his chair. Milk spilled everywhere as people screamed. Teachers ran. Someone yelled for the nurse, and I cried, shouting that I didn't eat it, over and over. The nurse rushed in and used an EpiPen on Ryan as an ambulance siren grew louder outside. Miss Harris stood frozen, hands shaking, barely whispering that she'd swapped the sandwich to prove a point. Ryan survived. Doctors later said he had a peanut allergy no one knew about. Miss Harris was fired before the week was over, and my mom and Ryan's parents sued the school. Miss Harris said she was just trying to prove something, but all she proved was how dangerous disbelief can be.